Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, and I am going to bring to you a very brief but hopefully understandable tutorial on Google Meet. So without further ado, let me just say that Google Meet has become very popular, especially during the recent pandemic, uh, especially among public employees, school kids, teachers, librarians like myself. A lot of people have been able to connect remotely from home and still stay in touch with their employers, with their schools, with their family and friends. So this is actually a very, it's an older technology, but in terms of the old saying that necessity is the mother of invention, more people I think have gravitated toward Google as a platform, Google Meets as a platform for virtual communication. And it's very accessible. It's very easy to use. You just need the equipment, and every laptop, every tablet, every Chromebook that's out there has the capacity to handle the technology in terms of the hardware. So we're going to go through the basics, and then we're going to specifically address how this platform can be used for the old-fashioned job interview, employment interview, as either a supplement or even a substitution for an in-person meeting. So without further ado, let me just walk you through this presentation. The first order of business is, let me click on Present Now, which is at the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to click here so that way you can see everything that I'm doing in terms of flipping through tabs and whatnot. Now, let me just walk you through what you see on your screen right now. Let's start with the bottom. You notice right over here, you see Google Meet tutorial on virtual possibilities. That's the title of this Google Meet presentation. On the bottom here, you have three circles with three icons. The first icon is the microphone icon. That means that you can turn the microphone on. It should be defaulted to on. You can turn it off if you don't want to be heard. Microphone off. I click back on. This middle one, and I'm going to just briefly pass over it. You see leave call is ending the actual Google Meet presentation. In other words, you're leaving that presentation. So if you click on that, it's just like hanging up a phone. And the last of the three icons and circles is the video. This is your camera. You can turn it off again by clicking on it if you want to be incognito. You can turn it back on if you look exceptionally well that morning and you want to share your face with the world. So those are the three that you see. You notice sometimes that the screen will disappear. The bar will disappear, not the screen, excuse me. All you have to do is click again or just move the cursor and reappear, and you don't have to worry about finding it anymore. So you're good. Okay, so right here we have to the right, you see the CC, which always stood for closed caption. The turn on captions. This is a very good tool, not only for people who are hearing impaired, but also just for people who might have a bad connection. And it's not exactly perfect, but if you click on turn on captions, you'll notice that you have voice activation software, so voice to text conversion. And you see on the bottom, the software is interpreting my words. I'm turning it off now because I think I'm clear enough. I hope I'm clear enough. Here it indicates I'm presenting, and all you had to do is just click on this to present, and then over here would be a to present, and you can click on full screen. It's very self-explanatory. No need to walk you through that. It's very easy. Over here I have stop recording. I am recording this for your personal edification. Change layout. If I click on that, it indicates how the screen is going to look. When you see these small rectangular tiles, these are the images of the people who are in the presentation. That's typical, the sidebar. Spotlight is just the one person, and then the tiled would be everybody going across, kind of like an expanded Brady Bunch. I like the tile, so I'm going to click on that. Up here, you have the number of people who are in here. Now, even though I'm the only person in this meeting, for some reason, Google Meets counts the presentation as another person. So if you look over here, you'll see myself, and then you'll see presentation. I'm going to get off of that. So this also here, and sometimes it acts kind of funny, so please ignore that part. Right here is the chat. This is where you can type in a message on the bottom, hi, and then click here and you see myself, hi, and everyone else can communicate as well. The people again, the chat, in case you don't want to be heard or you for some reason don't have the capacity to be heard, it's pretty much an easy fix. I'm going to just stop this for a moment. Present now, my entire screen. Here I go, just to make sure we're not going crazy with all that split screen. Okay, so these are the basics. Again, microphone on, off, hang up, leave the conference, leave the Google Meet, and turn on or off your camera so that you could be seen or unseen. Closed caption is a voice activation software, and I'm presenting. These are the people. It's just myself and my presentation. Chat, again, you can type over here in the box, hi again, and click there, and it shows up. And this is basically the landscape. That's pretty much how to navigate through Google Meet in terms of an everyday, ordinary presentation. And it doesn't matter what the presentation is, whether it's a virtual classroom that's being conducted, whether it's a conference with your parents or your friends or your siblings. It doesn't matter. It's the same for everything else. But let me just walk you through a particular application in terms of setting up a Google Meet, now that you're familiar with the landscape here and how to navigate through this very user-friendly Google Meet presentation. If you click on the new tab up here, which is the plus sign, you notice I'm automatically brought to my Google homepage. I'm going to go to the Google Apps, which is represented by 9 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Click on that. And specifically Google Calendar, clicking on that. And you notice it's set for July 3rd, 2020. July 3rd is a Friday. Here's the calendar. You see it's the circle is represented here. And noting Independence Day is observed for public employees in this district. And then you notice over here, there's a red line that's that's indicating that there is a Google Meet presentation in effect. I'm going to click here. I'm actually going to indicate to you how to set up a Google Meet. This Google Meet tutorial on virtual possibilities, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. is in effect. Let's say I want to set up another Google Meet, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Again, this is generated through Calendar on your Google Apps. I'm going to click roughly on what looks to be the 1 o'clock bar. And notice right off the bat, I have my formatting for a Google Meet. And the first order of business is adding a title. I'm going to indicate I want to have a Google Meet on a Google Meet demonstration. So I'm going to call this Google Meet Demo. But let's just say I don't want it for 1 o'clock. I do want it for July 3rd. If I didn't, I can just change it to any date on this calendar just by clicking on this box and manipulate. I can even go ahead to August. Okay, I can even go back to June, although I don't know why I would do that. But it's now July 3rd, 2020. It's a Friday. I don't want to hold the meeting at 1 o'clock. Rather, I want to hold it at 1:30. So let me just scroll down and I can type in 1:30. If I want it 1:45, I can even type that in. If I want it 1:35, which is not represented here, I could type it in for 1:35. It doesn't matter. Let's just say for the sake of argument, I'll type in 1:35. And then I'll make this, look, 2:35. It automatically generates to an hour. I just want it to be a half an hour. So automatically it will generate to 2:05, which is a half an hour after 1:35 p.m. My time zone is automatically set for Eastern Standard Time, which is where I am. You could set that up yourself if you wanted to. However, because this, I'm jumping over here to add location, which is your Google map. You're pretty much set in terms of your location automatically through Google. Google knows where you are. That's why you better behave yourself. And so it automatically knows that I'm on an Eastern Standard Time zone basis here. All right, so I've got my title, I've got my date, I've got the time and the duration of this meeting. Now, this is interesting. This could be an all-day meeting where it starts at 1:35 but doesn't end until 1:35 the next day. I can also have, I don't know, if you're brave enough, click on that. If you have a lot to say, if you're very verbose, great. This is where you really want to go. This is the drop-down menu for the frequency of the meeting. So does not repeat just means it's a one-shot deal, as this demo is a one-shot deal. But you could set it up as a daily meeting, so it will appear Monday through Sunday. Weekly on Fridays. It will appear on every Friday. So the next one after the 3rd would be on Friday, July 10th, and then Friday, July 17th, and the 24th, and the 31st, and so on. You can even do it monthly on the first Friday, annually, so every year on the 3rd, every day of the week, every weekday rather than daily, which would mean Monday through Friday rather than Sunday through Saturday. And you can custom yourself. You can set it up any which way you want. Then over here, event details. I have to make sure it says add Google Meet video conferencing. When I click on that, automatically a link has been generated. And you notice here that up to 250 participants are capable of screening screening, and not only screening, but participating in the Google Meet presentation that you are setting up now. Add location, like I said, that's just your Google Maps. You can leave that blank if it's not necessarily important that somebody know where you're streaming from. Notification just means when the people that you're going to add here in this box are going to be made aware of the Google Meet. You can set it up for automatic notification or not. But what happens is, anyway, I tend to ignore this because once you, and I'll show you what's going on here too. Once you add these people and you save that by way, when I say add people by way of their email, automatically they're going to receive an email with the link here to join and everything in terms of a certain day and time as you've set up. So let me just go through the rest of these parts. This is who I am. This just basically means you can change the color scheme. I'm at blue right now, and it's fine with me. This over here, busy and free, is very confusing because it really just means the same thing as this. When you go to default visibility, you can have it public, which means that anyone can attend so long as you agree to it. And what I mean by that is what will happen is people will get hold of your link, and all of a sudden when you're presenting, you'll get a window that will appear, such and such a person outside of your guest list wants to join. Do you agree to it? You would click on yes. Or you can just make it private, and that means just within the people who are in this, you've added to the email. So again, if I click here, automatically my contact list, which is generated through my Google account, through my Android account, will list a lot of people, but because of privacy, I don't want to click here. But if I clicked here, I would just select either from my contacts or type in people's emails, followed by a semicolon, followed by a space, and then another email, and then semicolon, space, and then another email, and so on and so forth. Over here at my description, you can just indicate what this meeting's about. Demonstration on Google Meet and virtual interviews. Oops, butterfingers. Okay. And pretty much that's it. So if I hit save, and I, again, remember that in here would be the emails. I hit save. All of a sudden you will see on that Google Calendar for 1:35 thereabouts on the grid here, the Google Meet demo. So it's already been set. And because I've added the emails and I've indicated that there's an indication send emails to everybody, they are aware that there's a meeting at this time. They can choose to attend by clicking yes. If they don't, they can click no. If they're befuddled and they're not quite, they haven't made a decision, they can also click maybe, just to give you an idea of how many people are going to show up and whatnot. I'm going to click here, or rather before clicking, I'm just going to bring my cursor up here, and you notice that there is a window pops up for this Google meeting, and this means I can edit, which brings me back to that screen where I set up this meeting to begin with. I can delete it. I can generate the email to the guests, and that's what you want to do. You want to click on that and then hit send. And these are just other options. You can duplicate and whatnot, copy it to other sources on Google platforms. Like I'm a teacher as well, so this might appear to my students on Google Classroom. The link will be generated, but it's pretty much fine. So that's that. That's how you set up. Very simple. I'm going to delete this right now. Actually, should I say I'm not going to delete? Well, let's just say if you wanted to delete this, let's say you got cold feet, all you have to do is right click. You can either join the meeting ahead of time or you can delete it. In this case, I'm just going to delete it. Okay. So I'm going to close this tab and I'm going to go back to our original screen. Again, very self-explanatory, very easy to deal with. And so I'm going to just talk about a couple of other areas right now and then conclude this tutorial, if you don't mind. Specifically, now that I know the basics, now that you know the basics, now you know how to not only navigate through Google Meet, but you also are aware of even how to set up your own Google Meet. And by the way, you can do this by your phone too. Again, everything is mobile, so you don't have to do this through a tablet. You don't have to do this through anything else other than your mobile devices or any mobile devices. Okay, so now let's just talk about the landscape here. Let's talk about the potential. What we have here is, and I don't know if anybody else had this situation where because of COVID, many people who had scheduled appointments with doctors, with dentists or whatnot, especially if they had follow-ups, what was happening is that so many doctors were having follow-ups through various platforms other than Google Meet, or some of them were using Google Meet. And it's the same thing where you would receive, if it were the doctor would send you a notice with the link and you would join at that certain time. You can have that conference that way. And it's just, again, it's the same, this offers the same opportunity for an employment interview. So for instance, you have submitted a resume to a potential employer. You were fortunate enough to receive a call back that you're in the vying for a position for a particular firm. And, but instead of an initial interview being conducted in person, the interview would be conducted in a virtual landscape such as Google Meet. And again, all that we're talking about here is that you would appear in person at your, you would appear before the screen, not in person, but before the screen. Hopefully you're going to be dressed as if you were in an actual in-person interview, just to make an impression. Okay, I guess the key here is that aside from the fact that you're speaking to somebody, a potential employer, remotely, and that potential employer is speaking to a potential employee remotely, you still want to have this veneer or this idea, this presentation of professionalism. So dressing professionally as if you were in person meeting this person, this potential employer, would be optimum. And again, it's just a matter of the screening, a matter of being able to address the areas of interest that might be brought up by the employer. For instance, why would you apply for this particular position? What does it mean to you? And then again, answering the question, and hopefully you're going to have an enthusiastic answer, and not just an enthusiastic answer, but an informed answer, meaning that you've considered the why and the how to the question, not just the who, what, when, and where. So through that process, you can establish a good rapport. There is a sense of an icebreaker in that you are not necessarily be intimidated by walking into an area that or an office that you might be unfamiliar with. So at least you know that you're doing it from the comfort of your home. You can have water beside you, non-alcoholic beverages beside you. You can have the air conditioning on. You can, if it's in the summer, you can have the heat on. If it's the winter, the psychological benefits of being at home to give you a little sense of encouragement, a little sense of confidence in approaching the interview is I think a major benefit to the virtual landscape as well. So again, when conducting an interview from an employer's perspective, an employer wants to make sure that his or her potential employee is not what we call a fly-by-night person, which is somebody who is just sending out resume after resume to this organization and that organization, trying to get a hit indiscriminately, and is not someone who is taken aback by the fact that he or she has been called upon for an interview. So, I mean, again, this is really an opportunity to really address many of an employer's lists of potential employers in a rapid sense of time too, because an employer can just, let's say, take an hour window and maybe conduct 3 or 4 interviews by way of the virtual landscape. And if that, and from that point of view, again, through the email, maybe a person would say, please be diligent about being prepared for the interview at such and such time. So that way it would accommodate the employer to hold these conferences, to hold these interviews with a potential, with an applicant. So from the employer's point of view, it's cost efficient. There is the sense that you don't have to have a waiting area of nervous people. It helps your support staff in that they don't have to corral applicants in such a way. And in a lot of ways, too, it allows for the fact that someone won't have to be late due to traffic or or inclement weather. Of course, then there's the issue of a power surge or something like that, but hopefully the person has charged his or her battery in terms of the tablet, in terms of the phone, etc. So again, I'm not going to run through the gamut of what questions an employer is going to ask, because depending on the position, an employer would have specified questions. But the bottom line is, I think every employer wants to see confidence in an applicant. An employer wants to see someone who is relatively educated, articulate. Demeanor is such that this person is not going to cause problems in the end. And again, you can judge a person even remotely, besides an in-person interview, because again, the landscape is audio visual now, and it saves a lot of time and decisions can be made rather quickly. And it also frees up people from having to travel, get ready, make sure if I live in New Jersey and New York City is right across the river. Many of us use mass transit. If we're going to drive into the city, that you get caught up in traffic. So there's a lot of that stress too, compounded with the stress of having to appear before a potential employer. For the applicant, as far as the applicant goes, the applicant does say again. It's beneficial for the applicant in the same sense that the applicant doesn't have to go through this process of dealing with traffic, dealing with time schedules for buses, again, traffic, inclement weather. Maybe there might be some sort of shutdown that goes on in a particular area that causes undue delays. All you have to do is, as an applicant, honor the meeting of your scheduled employment interview, and you can do it from the comfort of your home. Again, just be aware that you are pursuing a professional mean. You want to be dressed for the part. You want to be prepared. You don't want to come across as nervous. And a lot of the psychological hangups of an interview can be alleviated through this platform, because again, you don't have to stress out, am I going to get there on time and everything else. So that allows you a little bit more time to prepare for the interview, to be aware that you're in the comfort of your comfort zone, wherever that comfort zone is going to be, and everything is going to be fine. So let's sort of recap. We've talked about Google Meet as a basic tutorial instrument. We've talked about Google Meet as a virtual conference between parties. We've talked about how to navigate through it. And we've talked specifically in a generic sense, how an employer/employee potential interview might go, and how to prepare for it, and the benefits to it. As far as the negatives to it, of course, you're not going to be shaking hands with the person, but given the the recent pandemic, you might want to just trade elbows. But so we're all in a different climate now, where I think we're moving ahead toward not a full virtual landscape, I don't believe, but I believe we're probably going into what they call a hybrid situation, where public and private employees might be working from home more often than not, as well as going to their jobs. The 5-day workday might actually change as far as its traditional format, but that's to be seen. The issue is that we are in a virtual landscape. More and more people are aware of the importance of being in a virtual landscape, given the fact that contingencies like pandemics, like quarantines happen. And we're just, I believe, in a moment in time where we have to say to ourselves, are we going to adapt with the changing times, or are we going to just allow those times to wash over us? These are the questions that people have been asking and had to deal with since the Industrial Revolution, and even before that, maybe the Bronze Age. So again, my name is Mark. I hope that this was informative. I hope I addressed your needs and your questions. If there are any concerns, I'm going to type my email below, and feel free to get in touch with me if you like, if you have any other questions that I might be able to help you with. And with that, I hope that you have a pleasant day. I hope you're remaining safe, and I greet you at the beginning or the dawn of a new era in virtual landscapes like Google Meet. Bye now.